السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Today inshallah we'll continue with the topic of Janazah, the subject of Janazah. So today's class inshallah we would start with ghusl. Last week, what we did last week? Last week we spoke about the muhtadar, that person who was in a dying state, what is done when that person is in a dying state, when that person dies, what is done until we reach the legal aspect, right? So we mentioned also in hastening the burial, hastening the janazah, the legal aspects also need to come in place, right? And as you mentioned, the easiest thing is what contact the funeral home, and they would sort out. They would tell you exactly. Sometimes, listen, a body in the hospital, weekend, you can't get that body until a doctor come and understand that these people, Azran and whoever you deal with, they have contacts, right? They have contacts, and they would sort out, and they get the body the same day, right? They have the contacts. So that is important also, right? The legal aspect of it, because they just can't bury a body anytime and anyway. So today inshallah we'll do the ghusl, right? And ghusl, this is considered to be any fard, except what fardu kifaya. We mentioned all that we do for the deceased, right, is the right and the haqq that the deceased has upon us, right? If we do it, we are the ones that are going to be rewarded, and if we fail to do it, we will be taken into account. That does not affect the deceased, all right? So much so if a person dies a righteous person, and for whatever reason the living people do, they know what? No ghusl, no kafan, no janazah, no burial, that deceased will not be hurt, that deceased will not be taken into account. Understand? We the living, we will be accountable. Right? We the living will be accountable. So when we speak about fard, yani fardu kifaya, there's a difference between fard kifaya and fardu ayn. Ayn means what? Every individual. Like the 5 times daily salah, fardu aynin is fard upon every single individual. You cannot perform salah for me, nor can I perform salah for you. Yeah, I can make dhuhr today, you do a dhuhr for me now. It don't work like that, right? Each and every individual upon themselves. As what fard kifaya, one or a few people in a community were to do it, yakfi al-akharin, or yukafi al-akharin. If these one or few people they do it, it would suffice for the entire community, right? That obligation would be absolved from the others. Alright? But if no one does it, the entire community will be held accountable. The entire community would be sinful. So, in ghusl, normally listen, when a person dies, what happens? Alright? Afterward, you sort of the legal aspect, we call the funeral home, and they take the body and they go with it, right? And then we wait for 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the evening for janazah. Yes, we pay the funeral service, right? We pay them what, 5,000, 6,000. So they would sort out. Understand, forget the payment. Yes, you have to pay them. But the ghusl itself, that is something rewarding. The ghusl itself is something rewarding. A person, he does ghusl for the deceased, right? There are many hadith that speaks about the virtue of what? Doing what? The ghusl for the deceased. Nabi alayhi salam in one hadith he mentioned, Man ghassala mayyitan fakatama alayhi ghufira arba'una kabira. A person what? He gives the mayyit, the deceased, a ghusl, and in doing that, that person what? He does not disclose whatever aib and defects he sees in the body of the deceased. That person, he will be forgiven. Right? The hadith mentioned arba'una and kabira, 40 measures, 40 forgiveness, meaning what? That person will be what? Forgiven what? In abundantly. That person will be forgiven any abundantly. the hadith it continues, وَمَنْ كَفَّنَ مَيِّتًا كَسَاهُ اللَّهُ مِنْ سُنُّسْ وَإِسْتَبْرَقْ مِنْ جَنَّةٍ. A person he shrouds the deceased, then Allah Azza wa Jal would shroud that person, would clothe that person from the garments and the clothing of Jannah. مَنْ حَفَرَ لِمَيِّتٍ إِنِ قَبْرًا. That person even the digging of the grave, that is that is virtuous, that has rewards. So yes, one is that okay, we pay the funeral service, but many of the funeral services, right, what they do, listen, they even request, come along, right, come to the funeral home, alright, and you can help I never did this before, khalas, you could learn how difficult it is to bathe. So as you assist in doing the ghusl, that is rewards. You assist in shrouding, that is the rewards. Right? So one is the obligation, right? Put that aside because it has been done. But the other thing which is more important is the rewards for it, right? The rewards that Allah Azza wa Jal has in place for that person who does ghusl to the mayyit, shrouding, dafn, burial, janazah. So for those who are doing the ghusl, there are certain guidelines, right? There are certain guidelines. It is preferable that a person who doing the ghusl and washing the body, that person be in a state of wudu and tahara. It's not a condition, it has to, but there's something that is recommended, commendable, that a person that doing the ghusl, that person, he's in a state of tahara, he's in a state of wudu, right? As for a woman, if she is doing the ghusl for a female deceased, then a woman in a state of haid, her menstrual cycle should not should not do a ghusl for the deceased, that female deceased, unless there's no one, right? Unless there's no woman to do it, right? She's allowed to do it. But if there's other women, then they should do the ghusl and not her, all right? And it's preferable also that the family members, they participate and they partake in the ghusl, all right? They carry out the ghusl and the shrouding. And understand, alhamdulillah, the Muslim funeral homes that we have, these things are adhered to. The man, all right, the male, the ghusl would be given by any males. Right? As for the females, the ghusl also will be given by the females. So male for male and female for female. The other funeral homes, right? Subhanallah, forget the aspect of Yeah, what kind of things happen in these funeral homes? These non-Muslim funeral homes. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Right? So anyhow, male for male, female for female. As for a child, if a child were to pass away, right, the same rule would apply. If it's a boy child, a non-baligh person, if it's a boy, then the men, they would do the ghusl, right? If it's a girl, the woman, they would do the ghusl. But if it's a small child, few years, 2-3 years, a small child, a few years old, then it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, yes, it's preferred, but it doesn't matter really who does what, who does the ghusl, right? We're speaking about a little infant, a toddler, a very young child. It doesn't matter who does it, all right? Whether it be male or female. All right, so the ghusl requirement, you have warm water, all right? Understand, not boiling water. And as we mentioned earlier, listen, so if we use cold water, then what's going to happen? The deceased will feel cold. No, understand everything. We mentioned the deceased, that deceased, a Muslim, he is honored, right? The body of a Muslim is honored and revered, hayyan wa mayyitan, alive and dead, right? Alive and dead. So even though that person is dead, the body is revered, right? So anything that opposes the reverence and honor of a body, that is prohibited in Islam. Right? That is prohibited in Islam. That is why the hastening of the janazah is a means of honoring that body and revering that body. Why? Because if that the deceased is not what, there's a delay in burying that deceased, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? A stench, you're gonna smell that, right? Listen, that could be the most beloved, and the smell you're gonna get from that, you're gonna what? You're gonna dislike that. Understand? You're gonna dislike that. Listen, the burning of the essence, these things that they burn, right? At the time of ghusl, all of these things is what? The dead, understand, the deceased doesn't benefit from anything of that sort. That is for us to benefit, right? It's for us to remove all what? All foul smell, all bad odor that could what? That would come from what? The body of the deceased. Understood? And the whole, when the person dies also, the sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is what? We close the eye. That benefits who? That is for the living, right? You don't want that, okay, a person be scared of the deceased, look, he's looking at me like that and he's scared. Close the eyes, right? Tie the jaw to the what? To the head. So it doesn't look frightening, right? All of that, so that we what? We will not scorn the deceased, we will not be terrified by the deceased, right? It's not that, okay, it's going to benefit the deceased or harm the deceased in any way, right? So have what? Warm water. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ mentioned what? Sidr, the leaves of sidr, lotus leaf, be mixed in the water. That is not there, khalas. Anything that what? Soap could be used, shampoo could be used, anything that what? That cleanses, right? That could be used. How you call it? The shrouded, inshallah, we'll speak about the different cloths that are used, the shrouding of the man, the shrouding of the woman, inshallah, we'll mention that over there. Alright, we just continue with the ghusl. Alright. And very important, right? And one of the most important thing, understand, when that body is being washed, right? That body, it must be what? Covered at all times. Right? The aura of the man and the aura of the woman, right? That at all times it must be covered. Yes, you're going to strip the deceased of his clothes, right? But in doing that, this is the deceased here, right? This is what? From the navel to the knee, that always covered, right? That is covered, then what? The clothes below is what? Removed. The deceased at no time is what? Stripped naked, right? Without what? Being covered. That at all times, that must be covered. So if it's what? From the navel to the knee, obviously what? You would extend it a little more, right? If it happens to move, at least what? It's still what? That is still covered, right? Understand? That is why it's very important to choose what? Good funeral homes, right? Muslim funeral homes, proper funeral homes, to ensure that what? These things are done, right? So that is covered from the navel to the knee with regards to a man. And not only covered, you don't cover it with the same type of cloth that you wrap the deceased, right? That thin white cloth. Why? If that becomes wet, it gets wet, what happens? The aura becomes visible, right? So use a thick cloth, a blanket, right? At all times that remains over there. And the ghusl is done. Inshallah, we mentioned it, the steps in what? In the ghusl itself, right? And the case of a woman, right, from what? From her chest straight until what? Her knees, right? Some scholars mention that what? The aura is the same, from the navel to the knee, and the woman, they will be doing, they would do the ghusl, right? But it's what? Preferred, from what? The chest straight until the knees, understand? And the knees also, the knees of a man is his aura. The navel is not the aura, right? It's not the private part. But the knees are the private part of the men. So that must be covered at all times. Let's skip that. So we go straight to the method of what? Doing the ghusl, right? Understand? The same method how we take a ghusl, a sunnah ghusl, is the same method of what? The same method what? The deceased, he is given us a ghusl, except that he'd be lying down. Alright? He'd be lying down. So the first thing, like a person normally what? Would need a ghusl if he's in the state of janaba. Right? So in that now, when we spoke about janaba, a person is of what major ritual impurity. Alright? So now that person, he would go and the first thing he would do, he would wash his what? Private part. Right? Normally this is where the najas and impurities is. Right? So it doesn't make sense that person washes his whole body and everything and what? That area is still what? Najas and impure. So that is the first thing that is washed. Right? So that is why the fuqaha, they would mention the first thing that is done is istinja is done. Meaning what? Washing the private part of the deceased. Understand? And doing that, the hands, right, of the person who's doing the ghusl, the hands, the bare hands never touch, right, or does not ever touch the skin of the deceased. I mean his aura, right, that area from between what, the navel to the knee, that is never touched with the bare hands of what? The person doing the ghusl, right. He wears a what? A gloves, right, and when he's washing the private area, right, he uses what? A rag, so that, right, and you wash, so you don't feel what, and khalas, whole what, the organ itself, the private part itself, right, this is what, something like a rag, like this, and it is what, in that area, so what, you're not what, feeling and holding what, the organ, the private part of that individual, right, that is over there, from that area, right, you use something like this, a rag, like that, and you wash. Other than that, you use what, the glove itself would work, right, for the other areas somewhat, yani from the navel to the knee, right? From the navel to the knee. That's why you always have what? Extra gloves, because a person would use and then he would dispose and he would put on a new one and use again. Now, yeah, once what? Not skin on skin, right? Once it's not skin on skin, right? But here we're speaking about what? That the way we talk about the awral mughallada, right? The private part of what? The man. And washing that there, as you mentioned, yes, you have your glove, but more so, you use what? A rag or something that doesn't feel what? The size or the impression, the imprint of what? The organ itself, right? You use something like this and you wash that area.
So you don't have a rag?
No. All you need is what? The glove, right? The other part you need the glove. Other than what? From your knee go down, right? Above the navel, hands on skin is not a problem. That is not part of the aura, right? Skin on skin is not a problem. So after istinja, wudu is made, right? The same word wudu that is made what? For salah. Right? All the sunnah aspect is carried out, all the sunnah aspect of what? We know how to make wudu, right? Except that what? A few things are left out. And these are what? Normally what? When a person he goes to make wudu, he will wash his what? Hands up to his wrist 3 times, right? Why? Because, understand, this is the tool that he's going to use to clean himself. A living person, when we make wudu, first we wash the hand, the sunnah is what? The hand onto the wrist 3 times to ensure that what the hands are clean, because this is the hands, we are using the hands to what? To wash the rest, to wash what? These limbs, so ensure the hands are clean. As for a deceased person, he is not making wudu, right? He is not making wudu, we are making wudu for him, right? So there's that aspect of washing onto the wrist, you don't wash onto the wrist, alright? That is one. The second part that you don't do, right, is not necessary, is what? Putting water in the mouth, right? Putting water into the nostrils, alright? Ulama, the fuqaha, they have mentioned that listen, unless the person he dies in a state of janaba, a person dies in a state of how you call it, ritual impurity, right? That person can what? Put water into the mouth or put water into the nose, even though it is not necessary, right? Even in a state of janaba, it is not necessary, alright? Wash the mouth and everything. Some people use what? Cotton to clean the teeth. That is okay. Cotton to clean what? The inside of the nose over here. That is okay. Right? And that person what makes wudu just like how we would make wudu for salah. Now, right? So we're continuing. So after what? Doing the istinja, washing the private part, wudu is made, and now the ghusl. So now water, we commence what? By washing what? Washing the head, then washing what? The beard, right? And you could use, as we mentioned, you could use what? If there's sidr and lotus in the water, use that. Make sure the water is what? Lukewarm, right? And listen, you could use what? Soap, shampoo, all of these things. Dry is not permissible. You could use that. We start from here, right? You start from the head, right? Thereafter, you put the deceased on the left side, right? You can wash straight down if you want, there's no problem, but after washing there now, you put the deceased on the left. When you put the deceased on the left, what happens? This is where you start from the right, right? To start from the right, this is, you put the deceased, you put the deceased like this. Well, this is what? My left, right? Right. So you put the deceased like this, so this is his right. Right? So you wash. Right? You wash, listen. Remember, all this time, deceased on your right, the left, lying on his back, the aura is covered at all time. Right? So, so if you're going to turn the deceased like this, you need to what? Be particular that what? The aura is not exposed. Right? The cloth remains over there. You fix it, whatever. Right? It is what? It is covered. Alright? The aura is covered. Then, you wash what? You wash what? Both sides. You wash from over here, so the water from here will go straight until this side over here. Alright? And you wash on this side, and the water will what? On the back, it will go straight until you reach the other side. Then you're going to turn the deceased like this. So the deceased now going to be on his what? On his right. So you wash the left, this whole side, until the water reaches here. And this whole side until what? The water reaches here. Alright? So now, you put back the deceased, lying on his back. Alright? You put the deceased and you lying on his back. Now, you gently what? Raise the deceased, put him what? To sit. Right? Like this. This is the deceased here. Right? So you put him, what? This is the head here, you put him to sit. Right? Understand, you need to support at the back. Right? And listen, and do that, ensure that what? That what? That aura is what? Covered. Alright? That aura is covered. Then afterward, you gently what? Rub the stomach area. Gently. Right? Gently rub the stomach area. Right? And listen, those who do the ghusl, they're what? The beds or wherever they're doing the ghusl, right? It will be such that what? The water would flow, the water doesn't collect. Right? It will flow. Either it flow like this, right? Or it flows like this and come out at the middle. There's a hole in the middle, right? Whatever bed they have, right? So now gently, the stomach, the belly is rubbed like that. And what happens, sometimes what? Most of the time what? Impurities would leave what? The private area, right? It would leave the private area, and afterwards, you wash that, right? That area is what? Istinja is done again, alright? Istinja is done again. And after that process, you don't need to repeat the ghusl. Right? There's no need to repeat, washing the entire body again. That would suffice. Right? And simple as that. Simple. Normally what? There are two methods. According to what? The Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, when a person goes to bed, right? He just start from the right, then the left, and then what in the middle, or the middle, the right, the left, the same procedure. Alright? The same procedure. Right, so understand here, that is in accordance with the orphan norm, right? Many what? Like in what? Other countries, right? In Saudi, they use what? A hose, right? So understand, anything that what? It doesn't show what? Disrespect for what? The deceased, right? So we're not saying that you can't use a hose, but yes, you could use a hose, but at least what? You have the water on what? Moderate, right? That is okay, right? You have the water, it's not like pressure, Khalas, let it be running any moderate and like that, right? That is okay if a person what uses any hose. Right, so now the deceased is what? Is dried up with the towels, right? And the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that camphor, right? This camphor is placed in the places of sajda, right? The places of sajda. Nabi alayhi salam, he mentioned, Umirtu an ashtud ala sab'ati a'dha, right? 7 what? Limbs. A person, he makes sajda on 7 limbs, right? So these 7 limbs, and including nose also, right? The 7 limbs are what? The forehead, the 2 hands, the 2 palms, the 2 knees, and the feet, right? 2, 4, 6, 7, right? And you also include what? The nose, right? You don't listen. You don't have to put a whole big chunk or a whole piece of kanfa. No, khalas. Just what? Apply some of what? The kanfa what? In these places, it doesn't have to be what? A big, you leave a whole big chunk, right? No, that is not necessary. Just what? Pass some what? Kanfa and what? The places of any sujud. Now, and understand here, the places of sujud, this is not awra, this is not awra, this is not awra, the feet not awra. This is important, right? The knees of a man is his awra. Right? You cannot touch the knees of a man. Right? The knees of a man is awra. So in applying the kanfa, but understand 2 things. That is what? Below that blanket, right? And secondly, with your glove. Right? Because we mentioned what? After the knee, yes. After the knees, above the navel, you could use what? Hand on skin, that is no problem. Right? But the knee is what? The part what? The awra of a man. Understand? These laws, we don't adhere to these laws only what? When a person dies. Understand? The awra of a man is the navel to his knee throughout. Right? Throughout. So for a person to expose his awra, expose his what? His thigh, expose his what? His knees. That is what's sinful. Right? That is sinful. Sometimes you go to meet people, right? Normally you just say, okay, the woman, what we are commanded to lower our gaze when for the women folks, but certain men you go to me, you have to lower your gaze too. They what? Understand? One is what? They are sinful for exposing their aura, and you are sinful for what? Looking at the aura of a person, right? Looking at the aura of a person, that is something that is sinful. Yeah? One is exposing, and one is what? Looking. Right? Understand? This is even what? Listen, yes, that is my father, that is my son, that is my uncle. It doesn't matter. Only what? Between husband and wife there is no aura. Between husband and wife, khalas, a husband can see the wife from head to toe, and the wife can see the husband from head to toe. Right? Between husband and wife there is no aura. Right? But other than the husband and wife, there is what? Aura. Right? So even though that is what? That is your son. Right? That is your son, that is your brother. Right? You cannot what? You cannot see from what? From the navel to the knee. And he cannot expose in front of you. You cannot expose in front of him, navel to knee. Oh, but with the home, the place making horn, this is home clothes. No. That is what? Totally impermissible. Right? Totally haram. And listen, there are certain sins that okay, a one-off sin. Alright? You know, it's a one-off sin. A person, khalas, he commits a sin and a one-time thing. He hit somebody, he lied, he did something wrong, that's like khalas, right? But there are certain sins in mumtad, it is prolonged, right? So that person, you will be sinful for that what? For that duration of time, his aura is exposed in front of somebody, or he exposes his aura in front of somebody. So long as he is doing that, that is why what? The hadith, look at the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that woman who what? Who sleeps what? Who spends the night away from the husband without a valid reason. Right? Every single moment that angel what? Curses that woman. Not a one time, straight until what? The break of dawn. Right? So there are certain sins, like a person, for example, what? He takes a haram haircut. Right? So long as it's not okay. It's not like okay, he is sinful the moment the barber finishes and dusts him up. That is one time sin. No. So long as he is what? His hair is like that, that person is what? Being sin and sin and sin and sin. Right? So it's very what? This Subhanallah. Nabi alayhi salatu salam what? He prohibited what is called qaza. Qaza, Nabi alayhi salatu salam what? This is something prohibited in Sharia. Qaza is the what? Shave part and leave part unshaved. And that is the trend now. Right? You shave part and you leave the other part unshaved. Right? And that is something what? Totally prohibited in the Sharia. That is what we was mentioning. Right? The Baba. Listen, nothing wrong in becoming a Baba, you know. Right? Nothing wrong in becoming a Baba. Except that what? If you want to become a Baba by profession, you're not going to get much money. You're not going to get much halal money. Right? Because nobody coming by you asking for give me one level there. They're doing it at home. They're coming for a shave and that shave, right? So you as the Baba now, but this is what the client wants, right? So khalas, if the Baba cuts what? Even what a non-Muslim, right? The Baba cuts what? The hair in that manner which is prohibited, that income becomes unlawful, right? That income becomes any unlawful. So nothing wrong in really becoming a Baba, but you have to choose your client, right? And you know what? You can't say we just choosing Muslim clients, no, because right? It's not like okay, all the Muslims going for halal haircut. No. I know how we reached there, but and we sit on the ghusl here. Right, the aura, we are speaking about the aura. Right, so the knees is part of the aura that is covered. So when applying the kanfa, it is applied below what? Below the sheet, and also what? Using any a cloth or a glove. Right, let's skip all this. Right. Understand it's very important, right? Those who are the hadith, anytime, every hadith that mentioned what the virtue of what? Bathing the deceased, right? It always mentioned فَسَتَرَ عَلَيْهِ فَكَتَمَ عَلَيْهِ. Bathes the deceased and what? Hides what? Hides, right? And doesn't what? Expose what he sees. But this man's skin was real blue back, boy, like the angel of death. He had a hard time with this man, right? But this man had tattoo one thing in his skin, boy. All of these things, khalas, totally prohibited, right? To disclose whatever aib and defect in the body of the deceased, right? To what? Disclose any aib, any what? In the body of the deceased. Now that is totally what? Unlawful, understand, unless you want to khalas, make ibra out of it, right? Meaning what? You want to give a lesson, right? Like for example, a person, you know what? He's known to be what? A person that never used to perform salah, a person that, you know, always what? Always involved in what? Wrong things, right? And you do the ghusl for that person and you see certain things on that, but khalas, if you want to use it as an ibra, lesson for others, right? Without any disclosing what? You know, the name of the person or whatever, the identity of the person, nothing wrong with that, right? So people can take heed. Alright. So now we continue. Listen, a few other masail. What happens if a person dies, right? A man dies, and there's no Muslim male present to what? To do that, to do the ghusl. We mentioned what? The males would wash the male. The females would wash what? The female. So this man passed away in a certain place and there's no what? No males, no Muslim males to do the ghusl. Right? But you have Muslim females. Right? No Muslim males. Right? In a case like this, it would be allowed for what? A non-Muslim man to do the ghusl. Right? It would be allowed for what? A non-Muslim man, he would be taught, listen, like this, you do so. Right? It would be what? A non-Muslim man would do what? Would do the ghusl and not what? Not the female, unless what is his wife. Right? Unless it is his wife. Right? Now, just say what? There are no men then. Muslim, no Muslim, there are no men to do the ghusl. Right? They only what? Any woman. In a case like that, right? tayammum would be done, right? The same tayammum we use for what? For salah, tayammum is what? The face and the hands, right? Tayammum would be done, except that the woman, she would not what? Touch, touch the man or touch his skin with her bare hands, right? Tayammum would be done. That woman, she would do what? She would do what? Tayammum, right? She would do tayammum without what? Understand? If it's a non-mahram woman, right? A non-mahram woman, she would do what? Tayammum. Tayammum, the face and the hands. If it is what? A mahram woman, yes, she would do tayammum also. She would also do tayammum, except that what? She would be allowed to what? Touch his face and hands while doing the tayammum. Understood? If it's the wife allowed to bathe, right? Understand? No men allowed, right? Only women. I mean, no men present, only women. So if it's what? One is what? The first scenario is what? The wife, she allowed to do that ghusl, right? The wife not there. You have what? You have what? A mahram woman, his mahram, right? She would do what? Tayammum, and she allowed to what? Touch. Right? Because what she could touch when, if he was alive, she would be allowed to touch the face and the hand. That is jaiz and allowed, right? Now she would what? She would do tayammum, touching the face and the hands, right? If it's a non-mahram woman, right? She would also do tayammum, except what? She would not be able to what? Touch what? The face and the hands with her bare hands. Right? So what happened now if what? Listen. A deceased woman, right? A deceased woman, and what? No woman to do what? The ghusl. No woman to do the ghusl, right? No woman to do the ghusl, but we have what? The husband, right? The husband there. Is the husband allowed, right? Is the husband allowed to do ghusl for the wife when she passes away? Right? According to the Hanafi madhab, the husband not allowed to do ghusl. Understand? The husband not allowed to do ghusl. But is the wife allowed to do ghusl? Yes, the wife allowed to do ghusl. So what's the difference? Right? What's the difference? When a man passes away, a man dies, the husband dies, what happens to the woman? She goes in what you call a iddah. For what? 4 months and 10 days, right? That iddah, that waiting period is because of what? That marriage. So there are still remnants of that marriage there, right? She not allowed to what? To get married because of the haqq and the right of what? The husband, right? Because of the haqq and the right of the husband. So there's still a what? A marital connection there. It's not severed totally. So because of that now, khalas, and because of that, she would be what? Because of that what? That marital connection, she would be allowed to do a ghusl, do his ghusl, right? But if what? The woman dies now, the wife, when the wife dies, right? And sometimes listen, there's a time that people act emotionally, right? When the wife dies, what happens? That nikah finishes. Right? That nikah, it comes to an end. They are considered as what? Strangers. Yes, in this world, khalas, finish. Right? They are considered as what? Strangers. Right? He not that what? The man is not allowed to what? To see what? That khalas, concession given what? To see the face for the husband. Right? But other than the face, what? That what? Husband not allowed to view, not allowed to what? To do that ghusl. Right? Because that nikah and that marriage now, it comes to an end. Khalas, terminated. Alright? And sometimes, listen, if people understand this before, it's better. On that day, you really can't tell them anything. Right? They don't want to hear. So if they learn from khalas now, at least the rule, at the end of the day, we what? Now?
So what I would like to put it down is wife passed away.
Where is that?
When the woman passed away.
The wife.
The wife passed away. What about putting going to the grave? Is that the husband?
Type, you have, okay, who is better to do it, right? But there's nothing preventing a husband from doing that, right? Who is better? Yes, you have better the mahram and standard. Understand, the husband is not a mahram. If the husband was a mahram, they'll never be able to marry anyhow, right? Many times they say, you know what, people think, okay, their wife is the mahram. Your wife is not your mahram, right? Your husband is not your mahram, right? A mahram is a person you could never ever get married to, right? So that's why you always say, okay, your husband or your mahram, right? At least what? When you're going for hajj, you should accompany what? Your husband or a mahram, right? Anyhow, so in the grave now, khalas, it is allowed, right? It is allowed for the husband to lower the wife in the grave. Remember what? She is covered, right? She is covered, so it is allowed for the husband to what? To lower the wife into the grave for burial. That is allowed. That is okay. That is allowed. What is that? No, that's what I mean. What preference that they would prefer, right? Look, if a person died, they prefer, okay, what? For example, they prefer, okay, the children, they do that and whatever. But if somebody else does, it is not what? It is not unlawful or impermissible for somebody else to hold the to carry the janazah, right? But listen, at that time, you always what? Respect the request of the family, right? That time is okay, not all the time okay, right and right. When the Sharia said that we can't do that. No, khalas. If this is what they want, as we mentioned, when a person, for example, the person passed away in the room over there, right? The deceased now passed away in the room, right? Then you see the whole village was inside the room, right? And they just stand up and watching. You have to clear the room, right? Leave that for the family members and that consideration, right? You know, so if the family members they decide, listen, these are the ones that are going to carry the deceased, and 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the ones that are going to what? Lower the deceased. We respect that. Now, we have a few over here. The ghusl of what? A body that is incomplete. Meaning incomplete body. You find part of the body, right? So we just summarize that thing over there, right? So in the Hanafi madhab, you cannot do what? You cannot do janazah unless the body is present. We understand that part. We'll speak about that more in janazah, right? But the ghusl, right? If what? More than half of the body is present, right? More than half of the body is present, you do what? How you call that? You wash the body, do a ghusl, you shower, and you do janazah, right? Half or less than half of the body present, that what? That body is just that what? That is wrapped and buried, right? No ghusl, no janazah, that is wrapped and buried. So much of what? If the head alone is found, right? These days all kinds of happen, you know, right? Just the head, khalas. All the thing is just the head, right? That is what? Wrapped and buried, right? Wrapped and buried, right? So somebody was mentioning that, you know, you find what? More than half, right? So you do what? You do ghusl, you do shrouding, janazah, burial. So the person said, no, listen, so if you find the next piece, right? After you're buried, you find the next piece now. We're going to put our next piece. You dig up back the grave and you put what? The next piece next to it. No, understand? Once a person is buried, khalas, you don't dig up back that grave. Understand? So much so that what? Ghusl is a condition for what? Janazah, right? No ghusl, no janazah. But if that body happens to be buried without what? Ghusl, right? Then you don't remove the body from the grave and do a janazah, afwan, and do a ghusl and then what? Janazah. No. If it happens that what? That body was buried, right? It was buried without what? Without ghusl, right? Then what? You don't remove the body. But then that person will say, how do you mean you bury without ghusl? How you do the janazah in the first place? You do janazah and then what? And then what? You bury the body, right? understand the ruling here, little one, not technical, but just follow, right? You must have ghusl to do janazah, right? You must have ghusl to do janazah. So if a person what? If a person, say the imam what? He does janazah on a body that ghusl wasn't done on that body, that janazah is what? Invalid. That janazah is invalid. Now you bury that body. That body is buried without ghusl and without what? Janazah, right? So the ruling here now is that what? Janazah is performed on the grave, right? Here now, janazah is performed on the grave. You don't remove the body now after what? Burying it to give it a ghusl, right? Now, ghusl is not a condition. Why? Because the body is already buried. The body is already buried, so janazah is done what? On the grave. And many a times, listen, sometimes what? We hear ever so often that this person, he accepted Islam. We know he accepted Islam. He spent 3 days with we, and in Jamaat, we meet this person and he take the Shahada. Then afterwards we get to find this person died, right? A non-Muslim home, and what they did? They were khalas, they went and what? Buried that person, right? They buried that person without a janazah, right? And this is important. Remember, we was mentioned in the beginning the importance of a will, right? Forget the monetary will, but this will over here, when I die my body would what? The laws of Islamic, any funeral, the Islamic what? The Islamic rights, with regards to burial, you adhere to that and you sign it off and khalas. So now, what is the ruling? That person buried, that Muslim was buried without janazah. So the ruling over here now is so long as that what? The body didn't what? Swell or burst, right? It is permissible to offer Salatul Janazah on the grave itself, right? On the grave itself. And the other question is, okay, how we know that what? The body ain't swell yet, or the body ain't burst, right? Normally that it differs somewhat, from the khalas, time and place. We don't have winter here in Trinidad, place we don't have salty area and this and that, but normally what? Within what? 3 days, right? Many of the fuqaha, they give what? A time, estimated time, 2 to 3 days. After that, right? No janazah, alright? You make dua for that person, no janazah. Now, the grave itself, the qabr itself. As we mentioned, for janazah you need the body, right? There's no janazah without the body, all right? We don't have what they call yani as-salah al-ghaib, right? There are certain madhahib what they perform salah in the absence of what? The body, right? In the Hanafi madhab, the body must be present for any salatul janazah to be valid. You better understand a piece of what? A piece of a human being, that what? The honored, reverend, right? So that is buried. What? Not washed, wrapped and buried, right? Wrapped and buried. Now, what about a person died? You see a dead body, right? But you don't know if that is what? A Muslim or non-Muslim, right? You don't know if that person is what? Muslim or non-Muslim. I mean, it may not be, in our time it may be easier, but long ago, the ruling they would use, if that body is found in what? An Islamic country, Islamic state, right? The what? Islamic rights, right? There's laws of what? Ghusl and shrouding and janazah, that would take place, right? That would take place. Found in the Darul Kufr, right? No janazah, this and that, right? But here now, if you see what? A person died, you know who that person is, simple. And normally what? You call people to what? To how you call it? To look at the body. Anybody can identify the body, right? Right? And like that. And normally what they use what? Signs and alamat, right? The alamat they mention, if there are signs that this person is what? Yani a Muslim, right? I don't know our time now what signs you're going to use, right? If there are signs to indicate that this deceased person here, he is a Muslim, then what the Sharia law is that that person will be given any ghusl, shrouding, janazah, and buried in a Muslim cemetery. So the signs of beard, I know beard is a style now, so you can't say, oh, the man had beard, right? Right? Some of the ulama, they mentioned to see what, if he's circumcised. I don't know, other than in Trinidad, other than Muslims, they're circumcised? Right, so that, look into that, right? Now you have the issue where what? For example, what? Multiple deaths at one time, a building collapse, right? And you have bodies, but what? You can't make it out, right? You can't differentiate between what? Muslim, non-Muslim, right? You can't differentiate between, okay, the Muslim bodies, the non-Muslim bodies, but you know, okay, there are Muslims over here, right? And also non-Muslims amongst what? The dead, right? Earthquake or something collapse or fire, whatever, right? So what is the ruling, right? The ruling is what? They go with majority. If it is that what? Listen, it is thought that, listen, the majority of them what? Are Muslims, right? So this is for the cemetery here too, right? If what? And we know for a fact that within them is what? Non-Muslims, right? But if the majority, right, are Muslims and a few non-Muslim but cannot be what? Distinguished or identified, right? But we know there are somewhat non-Muslims there, right? And we know most of them are Muslims. So the ruling is what? Everybody will be given what? Ghusl. Everybody will be given shrouding. Everybody will be given janazah. Everybody will be buried in the Muslim cemetery, right? So listen, if they bury and we know for a fact that some is what? Non-Muslim, right? So let me see, if they bury non-Muslim people in Muslim cemetery, what happen? They got change? They got change over, right? Right? It was khalas. I mean, we have a little here with the Muslim cemetery in Barrackpore, right? Yes, right? It's a Muslim cemetery, right? It is what? A Muslim cemetery. And we have Uncle Faiz here from what? From Monroe Road, right? And we have people who died in Barrackpore, taking a long what? Our drive to what? To be buried in what? Monroe Road Cemetery, right? We have what? A Muslim cemetery here. They mentioned the ruling. Where a person is what? Where a person dies, this is where he is buried, right? Understand the fuqaha, they mentioned it is a makruh to transport a body more than what? A few kilometers without a valid reason, right? Before khalas, we didn't have what? A Muslim cemetery. Now we, alhamdulillah, we have what? A Muslim cemetery, right? And that rumor is that, the rumor is a khalas. That has no reality that, okay, non-Muslims have been buried over there, right? Qadiani have been buried there. No Qadiani have been buried over there. And let's just say, for whatever reason, we don't, a person what? Understand? We are commanded to act, right? And judge what is apparent. A person could be apparently, he could what? Be, to us he's a Muslim. But khalas, in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal, he knows what is in his heart. But we don't know what in his heart. Right, so he live amongst us as a Muslim and he died, and he dies like that, so it's obligatory upon us to do a janazah. So we doing the living doing janazah for the deceased doesn't what send him to Jannah. The deceased doing what the living doing janazah for what? The deceased doesn't mean that khalas, that is shahada that he died with iman. No, right? But this is what we are commanded to do, right? So just say if it were to happen, a non-Muslim were to be buried in a cemetery here in Barrackpore, would it change what the cemetery from being Muslim to non-Muslim? We have to ask that question. No, wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. And we mentioned what in Baqi', that everybody want to what? To bury, right? And most of the time of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, the munafiq, they didn't have a separate cemetery. The munafiq, they were buried in what? Al-Baqi'. When you speak of munafiq, what the kuffar, they were buried over there. That didn't change the cemetery from a Muslim cemetery to a non-Muslim cemetery. Alright? So,
is there a hadith or something that mentions about food?
inshallah, we still bathing. Inshallah, we will mention about that in the, we still have the shrouding part yet. And the janazah and the burial, inshallah. We'll do that together, right? Let me just see if we're skipping out anything here.
So, we say that We can't do Janazah, right?
No.
Well, here, let me say this person living by themselves, and he died in the house. So like the die, and after maybe a week or so, then we find the person. So now the person probably already got cut up and Muslim.
So in a case like that, listen, as for what? The ghusl part, if it is that what? In doing the ghusl, if you were to do, understand? If you were to perform the ghusl, right, and it is fear that what? The limb, right? The limbs would come out because what? Already decayed and loose on everything. If that is fear, then khalas, there's no ghusl, right? There's no ghusl. You do what? You shroud in and what? If the body, as I mentioned, what? It is what? Already what? The ulama mentioned tafassakha, intafakha or tafassakha. It is swollen, right? Or it is what? It already burst. Then what? There is no janazah, right? You make dua for the deceased. No janazah. You see, look at the state of the body. If it's what? As I mentioned, it's swollen, right? Or it bursts to that extent. That is one reason why we hasten for what? Hasten the janazah also. Understand?
Financial help, physical help, like taking him to the cemetery, all the things to do, but you can't bury as a Muslim.
Alright, so understand, a person what? Person has what? Non-Muslim relatives, right? Non-Muslim neighbors, family, right? So when they die, listen, we still offer condolences, right? But we will say, like how they do for Pandey, may Allah bless him and this and forgive him and khalas. I know who was that on no, khalas, this is where we draw the line. Yes, you aid the family, you offer condolences, you help the family, you carry food for them, this, however you could assist them, right? But where you draw the line is where the rituals start, right? When they what? Call other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they what? Do shirk, when they have their what? Their prayers and this and that, this is where what? We draw the line, right? We don't participate. Right, with everything else to help out on this, you can help them out, right? Even what is even allowed for us so what to bury what, to dig and what to bury what a non-Muslim, right? But to go and what, participate in their prayers and their rituals and be part of it, no, this is prohibited. All right. It's not confused, it's get emotional. How a man die upon kufr. Understand here? When he died. For who? What is that? No, at least listen, janazah when the body not dead, at least is what? To a certain extent, the views of what certain imams are views in Islam, in the Sharia, right? It's not something what isolated or khalas is a view. Khalas according to certain what ulama, imams, is jaiz and permissible, right? To do what salah al ghaib, the body not there. But a person die upon kufr, clear cut kufr, there's no doubt in that, right? how Allah going to bless that person? How Allah going to forgive that person when Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned He would forgive everything else except shirk, a person that is upon shirk. How is it that Allah would forgive that person? How is it that Allah would bless that person? That is what? That is foundation in Islam. No mufti, no mawla, no sheikh had mentioned otherwise. Understand? A scholar. What is a alim? A scholar, a mufti, a sheikh, whatever you want to call him. He is not a legislator. Inil hukmu illa lillah. Allah Azza wa Jal, He is the legislator. No man can make law here. No mufti can make a law. At all. Right? No mufti can make a law. The job of the alim is to what? To make it clear to the people what is the law of Allah Azza wa Jal. That is all. To make it clear what is the law. Many times you hear what, hey, them Maulanas, what they make the law and they break it. They can't make the law. No, forget that. That's a talk, but you can't make a law. No, the ruling already there. I just mentioned you what is it? Yes, so that's something very unfortunate then, right? It's all there, all the time. Go ahead. Bismillah. Right? Allah Azza wa Jal mentions in the Quran, they've been participating, right? Just be anta minhum, you are amongst them, right? A person when you're taking the crowd of what? Evil, right? You're taking the crowd of what? Deviance, right? You are part of that, right? That is why what the Quran mentioned, if you see, okay, people what sitting and what speaking the Prophet, speaking Islam, right? You're not speaking. You just over there, they are speaking Islam and they're talking what? Shirk and kufr. You're not doing that, right? Two things you do. You change the conversation, right? And if you can't change the conversation, what? Don't be over there. And if you insist to remain there, anta minhum, you are amongst them, you are from them. Alright? So sometimes, listen, you could excuse yourself, right? You pass and listen, certain people, okay, because of their job and the government, this, that, hey, like only the fire service, everybody have to be there. The police, everybody have to be there, right? So, khalas, you're not a person going because, the police, what, we going to what? Our job is to what? For safety and protection, as what we do, how you call it? We are going for no funeral and offer no prayers and this and that or whatever, right? And if you have to pass, just pass, show your face and go, whatever you have to do. But to just be part of what? All the rituals and this and that. No. Listen, in the funeral of non-Muslim, what happens, right? The time what has happened at non-Muslim funeral? Kalimatul kufr. Kalimatul shirk, right? Understand, you have a way to do it, right? You have a way to do it. Sometimes we feel, okay, if we don't participate, listen, that's my neighbor boy, that's my good friend. Listen, you have ways. You go, you offer your condolences, this I can help you, so. You make yourself present, right? And you help and you insist on whatever, right? But just for one day calling any other than Allah Azza wa Jalla and they do the shirk and the kufr, you excuse yourself. Right? When you think about it, sometimes we want to sympathize and do so. But they what? When it happened, they don't come in the masjid and pray. You see them what? For Qurbani. You see them slaughtering for Qurbani? No, but why we have to be part of their thing? And when we have our thing, no, we don't deal with that. They do it. You know, we just, for the Muslims and the love and thing, you know, they slaughtering for Qurban, we do it. They never do that, right? And they would never do it. But their thing now, we think that if we don't participate, and you know, there's a line, we draw a line, right? Even after the funeral, you check them out, how you're going this, and you send some food for them and whatever, you know, you keep that. So at least, you know, listen, we could do everything beside that, right? And we have understanding. Give them, yes, we have understanding.
Give them dawah in their life.
Right? I mean, something, listen, it's very sad that they die, yeah, but worse than that, they die without Iman, right? Understand? So, understand, we had to come out of this what? This routine, sometimes like Pandey, right? He died, right? So now can you give a nice speech and bless and this and that? You know what? Look, his status has been elevated, yeah? No, khalas, that if we have shak and doubt in that, we don't have shak and doubt in our deen, that person dies upon Iman, khalas falahul Jannah. We have no doubt in that. And similarly, we have no doubt in the words of Allah Azza wa Jal, a person die upon kufr, fa inna lahu naru jahannam. So what peace? And rest in peace. No, you think about it, we don't just what say thing to what? How you call it, to make us what, to convince yourself or make yourself feel nice, this fake thing. No, that is the reality. And if a person knows that this is the reality, dies upon kufr, yeah, that is the reality. Otherwise, where's the sense of, okay, you know, the three roads that what lead to one. You know, be a good Muslim, a good Christian, a good Hindu, and you know, the three roads lead to one. If a person believes in that person what? He or the full of Islam. How you could believe that that person worshipping other than Allah Azza wa Jal is in what? Sirat al-Mustaqim. If a person has that what? That belief, right? Then even though the person performing salat, but he believes that what a person worshipping other than Allah Azza wa Jal, that is salvation also, that person is the full of Islam. Even though he may not go to a temple, he may not go to what the church, but if he believes that a person would worshipping Jesus would be saved, or a person worshipping Ram and Hanuman would enter into Jannah, he believed, okay, that's good also, but he never did it. That person is out the full of Islam also. So it's very important, right? And as you mentioned, yes, many things you could do, right? Condolences, this, that, before, after, what, you know? But just that part over there, listen, we call in Allah, we call in on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can we be part of a gathering, people call in any other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ascribing partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we amongst that gathering? So, anyhow, whatever remain on ghusl here, that's sufficient. So next class, inshallah, we have the ghusl of a stillborn. We'll probably continue. But inshallah, next class we'll do the shrouding, and if you get a chance, the janazah salah itself. Right? Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun.